From St. Pius X Church in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is Roar Like the Lamb.
We're back.
We're back and we're cooler.
We are, I mean, for people who are only listening to the podcast and like who don't see the videos of it, they won't see how much cooler.
Dang it. But also, guys, you can actually watch this on YouTube now.
Yeah, you can go to our St. Pius YouTube channel and you're going to find Roar Like the Lamb.
We'll go from like
cool
4
videos.
views to 10 views.
You think we'll hit double digits?
I think we can hit
That's
double digits.
optimistic of you, Paula.
Listen, this backdrop is fire.
It's cool, right?
It's so nice.
It's cool. Yeah.
I'm very excited about this.
It's some books and it's a bookshelf and
Yeah.
you know, we've got the cool little LEDs in there as well. You know,
Got bobblehead Sam back there. Like, it's just, there's so many cool things on this bookcase.
Yeah, there's a bobblehead of me right behind me. It's great. So much fun.
Oh.
So, did you miss recording while I was away?
I was busy doing other things, so I guess.
Okay, so you did. You're like, this is me dragging you out of retirement, basically. Then is that what's happening?
It's a little bit. It's a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what were you doing while I was gone?
Let's see, what was I doing? Learning a lot about the new website, so that was exciting.
Oh yeah, new parish website. That's a big thing though, because those websites. First of all, I don't know if anybody listening works for the church. They know that the church typically struggles to keep websites up to date, looking nice, neat and clean, full of accurate, up to date information,
User friendly.
Yeah, well, it's because like we built websites, and then the way that websites developed is like we've got to keep on top of this all the time,
Yeah.
and the church typically goes a lot slower than that with most everything.
Yes.
And so websites were just like, if we've got to worry about pastoral care of humans, or making sure that a website has dates on it or is running on, I don't know, whatever the latest version of JavaScript is or something like that.
I don't even think we use it anymore.
No,
thank
I'm pretty sure
goodness.
that's like long
That is
gone.
very 1990.
See what I mean?
Wait,
See, this is exactly what I mean.
did you take classes in high school on how to build a website?
No.
I did in middle school in 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
We had to take computer classes and we had to learn how to build an HTML website.
Yeah, so they like the idea of teaching us how to build a website was very foreign still, even when
Okay.
I was in high school. Like,
So they
were
started
just
with me.
starting, but it wasn't like a thing that they really made a big thing of.
They're
for
like,
us.
these guys are too old. We're going to start with the 6th graders instead. Yeah, that pretty much makes sense.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that my high school had dial-up internet until I graduated. No, I think they had something else. I'm sure they had some sort of whatever the next step up from dial-up was. I think we had that. I don't remember now, but
I wouldn't remember what it was.
no, I remember it was a big deal that my class, for our class day, so in the fall you'd have class day, like we're kicking off our senior year. It was a big thing. And one of the guys in my class had made a video for this celebration using a digital camera. And that was a big deal. Because nobody had, it was a slideshow of photographs and everything. And this guy had a digital camera and he was able to make a video and do a
Wow.
slideshow using all pictures from the digital camera. And that
Yeah.
was unbelievable. That was like beyond
No
our ability
way.
to comprehend. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That everybody would one day be carrying around a phone that could also take pictures and make videos was unheard of.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I still have I wanted to.
Stone Age is here.
No, it's fine. I have undeveloped pictures from when I went to Peru on a mission trip like 10 years ago. So I found it the other day. I was like, I should really develop these
You
pictures.
should definitely get those developed. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
No idea what I took pictures of. But you know how like, okay, so our phones nowadays, like you just take pictures. I remember when you had to choose what you wanted to take a picture of.
You got more selective about
You
everything.
were so selective about, okay, I can't waste it on this.
Right.
So you all have to do this perfectly because we get like one shot.
Well, and there was always the chance that whatever picture you took just didn't come out at all.
Yes.
Like it ended up being just a bad picture.
Yes. Yeah, so it's just so strange. And now everybody has like over 30,000 photos of like one scene in a day in the life of
How many pictures of my dog do you think I have?
I
Enough.
can I take a guess?
No. We're not playing that game. No.
Wait, no, seriously.
I don't know.
You have no idea.
I have no idea how many pictures of my dog I have on my phone, but it's not a small number.
It's not.
No.
No, I believe it.
But it is so like unlike other things, you know, you see somebody who starts collecting something that's unusual. Like there's people who collect keychains, or they collect bottle openers or something like that.
Yeah.
If you ask them, like, how many bottle openers do you have? How many keychains do you have?
Oh,
they tell you whatever the number is, and you're like, yeah, that's a reasonable number. But it's different when it's like pictures of your kids. Like nobody thinks you have too many pictures of your kids, and I think that if somebody owns a pet, they don't think you have too many pictures of your pet. It's okay. Now, if you wanted to see the number of pictures of fish that I have on my phone, that's a little unreasonable.
Are you serious?
I got into a habit. It was about this summer. I broke it.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear about what I did for my sabbatical, go and listen to The Tangent.
Okay.
And we can link to that episode in the show notes, because I talked all about that there. And you and I have had plenty of conversations. So there's nothing I can tell you that you don't already know. It won't be a fresh conversation.
Oh, no, it's fine, but you got to tell everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But one thing that I didn't talk about on The Tangent, and I haven't talked really about with just about anybody, was I broke the habit of taking pictures of most of the fish that I catch.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, it was always fun because like this was a good fish.
Yeah.
I was excited. So I take a quick picture of it, let it go.
Yeah.
And then while I was on this sabbatical, like you just get into the moment a lot more, just being there fishing. And so it was a lot less important to take pictures. And so I just didn't. And we did a little guided trip one day. Me and my friend Jeff and his two sons. And so I was with one of his sons in the boat, and our boat was going down, and he was up in the front of the boat, and he was killing it. This kid, 12 years old, and he's just like slaying fish left and right. They're coming, like he's catching fish by accident. It was so much fun to watch. Oh yeah. Like he cast, he didn't like the cast. So he started to reel in and he caught a fish.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It was beautiful. And he was enjoying it so much, but he'd catch a fish. Great, put it back.
That's awesome.
He never once wanted to stop and like get a picture of it or anything, because he was so in the moment. And it was all about what he was doing right there. And to kind of be with him in that was a really powerful experience for me, and very instructive, because it was a reminder that fishing is a joy in and of itself, but it's very much a present moment joy. And there's obviously, you get a prize fish, you get like a really big one, you better take a picture of that, because that's just cool.
Otherwise, people won't believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, yeah.
But for the most part, enjoy being there. And the more important thing is enjoy being in the moment, rather than trying to get exactly the right picture. Plus, the guy who was guiding us, he was really good, and he was really engaging with us. It was a long conversation, the whole boat ride and everything. So as we're fishing, he's talking to us. He's giving us little pointers about where to cast and things like that to do.
That's so awesome.
And it was really great. But at the end of the day, like, it didn't matter that we took pictures. So I take fewer pictures of fish now.
I think that's
one
great.
change from the sabbatical that I've not yet disclosed to anyone. But here it is. The Roar Like the Lamb podcast has the exclusive scoop on the fact that I take fewer pictures of fish.
Well, essentially, that's more like a nice pullback to just reducing the amount of screen time we all have in general.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like...
Well, the advantage when you go fishing, especially if you're fishing in some more remote places, even like here in Connecticut, I can go fish on certain spots in different rivers, and there's no cell service, just because of where you are.
Yeah.
The cell coverage just kind of dies out, which is beautiful. And then you're worried a lot less about being on the phone and everything.
That's awesome.
Which it's fantastic. And of course, when I was in Wyoming, there's no cell service anyplace.
You seem so blessed.
Oh man, it was great. And like I had access to Wi-Fi for part of the day most days, and so it was just beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, it was so beautiful. And you disconnect, you detox from all of that stuff.
That's what I want to do.
Well, so here's what I'm thinking
badly.
about. Right? This has been very, very much on my heart. I learned how important that was for me, and how good it was to disconnect.
Yeah.
So I told you the other day, I was asking you for help with our parish Facebook account, because that's the only social media that I had.
Yeah.
I had a Facebook account, and I no longer have a Facebook account. It is deleted, gone. Like I didn't deactivate it and let it rest.
He obliterated it.
It no longer exists, and I am.
How do you feel?
I don't miss it at all. For one thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
How are you going to remember people's birthdays?
It doesn't matter. I never remembered them in the first place.
Oh, well, thanks for sending me a cat card, by the way.
Well, yours is easy because you and
your
Mom
mother's
have the
birthday.
same one. Yeah. So you deserved that cat card.
It was nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Was it 4 out of 5 cats really care about, or like don't care about your birthday, and then you opened it up and it was just kidding. It's 5 out of 5 don't care about your birthday.
It's fine.
And that's how I say things like happy birthday to my friends.
And it was so personal. I was like, oh, I feel seen.
Right?
This is so beautiful.
Because I know you love cats.
So like you give
so
me
I got you something.
crap about cats, and other people think that my cat's the devil. So I just receive a lot of hate.
It's all good though. But so not having access to it in the first place over the summer, I had already just disconnected pretty much completely from social media. And I realized that I felt better. But I felt better because I wasn't either doom scrolling,
Yeah.
just like going through and seeing. At this point, anyway, my feed is nothing but ads.
Oh, it literally
And
is.
It was
cooking
also
videos.
Yeah, it was also full of like sponsored content. It wasn't, if it wasn't actually an ad, it was sponsored content, and
Right.
none of it was stuff that I had ever expressed an interest in. It was just stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like throwing, because I wouldn't like anything. They were basically like, if I happened to pause long enough, the algorithm was like, oh, that was a second and a half on that one, so we better like bombard him with a few more images like that. If like, all right, here's a baseball trivia thing, and then here's something about national parks, and like they're
That's so
totally
funny.
spying on you.
I mean, they are. Mine right now is robotic kitty litter, self-cleaning kitty litter
Yeah,
boxes.
no, they're spying on you
Well, I mean,
because
yes.
you just bought one.
Well, no, I'm looking for one.
See? They're
So
spying on
now I'm getting all these different, like,
I'm out, man. I'm out. Big Brother's not going to get me.
they're totally
Yeah,
spying.
no, exactly. So I said, first of all, I don't want that. I read some statistic recently that they estimate that most of the accounts on Twitter, or what was it, X?
X, I don't even have that, but yeah.
But they estimate that something like 80% of the accounts on Twitter are actually bots.
Yes.
Like not even real. Come on.
So what do you...
So what am I doing there? Like, well, I was never on
Well,
Twitter.
you were
but,
yeah,
but like,
no.
why would I want that?
No.
Right. So I felt really strongly that I've got to disconnect. But even more, what I've been feeling is like, it's not just the disconnection from the social media stuff, because you get sucked into that, and like
Yeah.
you start stressing, you start feeling anxious about things, and you start getting like, oh, all this stuff is happening to me, and it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I think that's the big danger of our connectivity, that we start thinking that everything that's going on in the world, and especially through social media, makes it feel like it's present, when in fact there's distance.
Right.
But I can't tell that there's distance because I'm on the screen all the time.
Right.
And the screen is very close to me.
Right.
And because the screen and the device that the screen is on is constantly buzzing or giving me a notification, it's telling me that it's happening right now, and I've got to pay attention to it. And I don't, in fact.
No.
So I just really became convinced, like, I just don't need this. And then because while I was away, I didn't have cell service for a good chunk of the time that I was gone, or Wi-Fi. My phone, for the most part, was in airplane mode, and I wasn't getting text messages and things like that.
Yeah.
And the little bit of time that I had each day where I did connect to Wi-Fi so that I could do my mentorship stuff,
Yeah.
I might get a few texts here and there, and I could like text somebody, but they might not be near their phone at the time that I texted them. So I might text and disconnect from Wi-Fi, and I wouldn't get a response until maybe later in the day if I reconnected or something. So there were huge chunks of my day where I simply wasn't reachable, which
Yeah.
was really nice.
That's nice.
Now, I can't do that as a parish priest. I do have to be available like during the day when
Yeah.
I'm on duty, when I am like at the parish. I do have to be reachable, but I also realized like maybe putting that do not disturb on my phone
Yeah.
can be helpful. And it's not that I'm not reachable, it's just that I'm not constantly checking the phone.
Right. Or even just with email, something that I started doing is just blocking out when I'm getting notifications.
Yeah.
Like, it's the weekend. Can wait till Monday.
Yep.
Because now we're treating email as if it's text.
Right.
And so you feel like this impulse to just, I have to respond now, I have to respond now. And then all of a sudden, well, yeah, your anxiety goes up, and you can't consciously hold all of these details and be attentive 100% of the time. So then you're just an autopilot, and it's overwhelming. You're like, when's the last time I thought about the sky or looked at the sky? It's so simple,
No,
but
but
that's really, it's like, wow, look at that tree. Oh, it's already changing color. This is really beautiful.
You're on my next thing.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about too. So look, it's like we're on the same wavelength.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because my next thing was, again, it's the experience of having gone on sabbatical and getting new eyes to see things.
Yeah.
And so you see things differently. So I come back and I started to realize how for 3 months I spent a significant chunk of every single day outdoors.
Oh my gosh.
And that was when I was with Catholic Art Work Camp.
Yeah.
That's when I was in Wyoming. And even when I was driving, when I was returning from Wyoming and driving.
You're driving a car, driving a horse.
I did not ride a horse from Wyoming to Connecticut. That
I
would
don't know.
have been
Some people
insane.
online are saying, I'm kidding.
I mean, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
And listen,
first
they
of
were
all.
ready to make that barn a stable.
Yeah, no, that's not necessary. As I was told, if you're ever interested in getting a horse, lease, don't buy.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Because then you can decide, you know what, this is too much.
It's too much.
When you've bought the horse, that thing's yours now. You got to figure it out. So no horses for me. I don't need that. I'm very happy to have other people take care of a horse and give me permission to ride on occasion. That's very kind.
Yeah.
No, I realized that for 3 months I was basically able to be outdoors for a significant chunk of every day. And when I came back, in that first little week that I was back, I was trying to catch up on things. I wanted to make sure that I kind of knew my landscape again. Now, the other beautiful thing, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again as many times as I possibly can publicly so that he gets the credit that he deserves. But one of the great gifts that I received coming home is that Father Brendan had taken care of pretty much everything. So there were no major tasks waiting for me when I got back to the parish.
Yeah.
There were no major things like piled up, needing my approval or anything like that. He took care of all this stuff over the summer. So I didn't have to come back to a mountain of paperwork that was like, this needs your approval, your signature. We need to talk about this, and this, and we need to make decisions about the following things. I've been home almost a month. I don't think I've made a decision.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic, right? It's so nice.
Yeah. He was a trooper this summer.
Oh, no,
the
he
flood
had
of
to jump in.
2024 was his defining moment.
And so an office flood. Here's the thing, though. Okay, I leave, and
Something always
happens, right?
So just don't leave again.
Well, but look.
I mean, you're going to have to.
The problem is that it can be I leave for a day and something happens.
That's true. That's true.
You know, I've left and we've had major funerals come in.
That's true.
When I've been away for a couple of days.
Right.
I left for a single day off, though. You might remember the Mad Pooper.
I thought we don't talk about that publicly, but I think enough years have passed by.
Enough years have passed. There was somebody who, let's just say, I think the sufficient thing is just to say that there was a mishap, let's say next to one of the toilets. They missed.
I think we called it Poopgate.
There was a lot of poop.
We called it Poopgate.
There was a lot of dung. And it was unpleasant.
He
but so
missed.
that happened.
Oh my gosh.
But it happened like on my day off. I wasn't in the office. This stuff doesn't happen when I'm here. It just does. And maybe I'm jinxing myself, and I don't believe in jinxes. But you get it, right?
Yes,
these things don't happen. So there was a flood. We haven't had a flood in the time that I've been here, but sure enough, I left and the office flooded. Craziness.
Yeah.
So
my office
Father
being
Brendan,
ground zero.
he held it together really beautifully, so I didn't have to. Anyway, I came back though, and as I was like reacclimating and figuring out what's my schedule going to be, looking at the calendar and starting to plot through things, I realized there was one day where I just didn't go outside. I was just in the computer, like I was in the office, I was doing these different things, and I wasn't really, like I never really went outside other than to walk across the parking lot. I went, that's not good.
Yeah.
So the thing that I've taken to doing is, besides like taking the dog for a walk, I've been leaving all of my messages for mentorship outside. I go outside and I listen to them, and then I leave messages outside. Now, the downside is if it's a windy day, sometimes the wind gets caught in the message, so I've got to be really careful not to, because I want people to be able to hear me.
Right.
And I know that it's not always fun to have messages like that where there's a lot of wind in the background.
Yeah.
But just to sit outside for a little bit or stand outside and not be inside is a great gift.
Listen, I very much enjoyed my walk from the office to this office.
Nice to go outside, right?
Well, because we don't really go outside, and then you go home. So this is great, because this is what I've been trying to think about. Is one of my favorite things growing up was teaching canoeing and just being on the boat and staring at the sky, or just literally just being outside, and how relaxing that was, how beautiful that was. But now it's interesting. So you were able to take 3 months sabbatical, be out in Wyoming. What I found for myself these last couple of months, and now that I'm finally finishing up Catholic Psych.
Woo!
It's been a long 2 years, folks. But I have to figure out how to make sabbatical moments in my daily life.
Yeah, right.
Right? So it's like wow, I don't have the ability to go away to some place for 3 months. I would love that. It's not possible. However, I love this idea that you can actually build in these moments of like moments of Sabbath, moments of rest within your day, or even while you're doing something, right? Like one thing, I found out, like, one week I was really anxious about all the events that we were having that week. And I put a significant amount of work because I had to do a lot of website updating. And then we had a blog party. And I was very overwhelmed that week. So mindful of how I kind of examined, like, ooh, I didn't really live out that week as best as I could. Because then you make like busyness an idol. And you get trapped into it, and you're like, I don't have time for this. I got to go do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. And so then it becomes like the thing that you're chasing constantly. While you're sleeping, you're thinking about it. When you're going home, you're thinking about it. And granted, there were actual practical things that had to get done in preparation for this. So it was a lot. And so then when it came to like the following week, and there was, okay, another young adult event coming up, it was just, as I'm doing something, let me just sit here and focus on my breathing. Okay, wow, I'm alive. I'm connecting with my own existence. And then that actually made room to just connect with God. Like, God, thank you for this moment that I get to just like, all right, like I was making tea this week, and I was like, I'm going to make this a beautiful moment. Like, I'm just going to relax, let the tea steep for a couple minutes. Like, just being mindful of how like my spoon is stirring in there, because I know what I have to go back to in like 3 minutes when I get back to my desk. I know the list that I have written out, but that's gonna wait. That's not that I don't have to deal with that right now. I can just be in this moment making tea. It was something so simple, but I'm so grateful for Catholic Psych and just really teaching this concept of it. Even something small can turn into something beautiful, and you can be present to yourself, present to God, and present to the moment. And then you choose that the next thing that you're doing. Like, how do you constantly practice this, being present to the task at hand? So it's been really transformational, even more so, which, I'm just so grateful I'm finally finishing. Because I wasn't practicing these things because I had so much anxiety.
Sure.
So now understanding where my anxiety comes from, and seeing where it's rooted in like childhood and all these things, it's opened up a whole world of possibilities. So, though I wish I would have taken 3 months, but it doesn't mean.
I recommend sabbatical to anyone who can get one.
Yeah.
And if you're not in that position, it's finding those moments of sabbatical every day.
Yes.
Right. Or every week, like a way to hit pause. But this is, okay, what is sabbatical by definition?
I don't know. You're the word guy here.
Look at the root of sabbatical. And
Sabbath.
Yeah.
Oh, look
exactly.
at that. It's like I was on trend already.
Yeah, you were there. You were there. You were with me the whole way.
There.
You tracked. That's great. But the whole idea is that it's meant to be an extended Sabbath.
Yeah.
An extended period of rest, so that you can focus on other things, or to refocus on the stuff that's most important.
Yeah.
In the case of a priest, like the sabbatical is intended to give you a time to rest, a time to do some ministry that perhaps you don't normally get to do, and so to engage in your priestly ministry in a way that is distinct from your ordinary assignment.
Yeah.
And that was really cool too. But most of all, it's like that little bit of rest that gives you a new perspective, so that when you come back to the ordinary stuff, you're coming back with different eyes, and you're able to see things differently.
Yeah.
And that means that you're able to, ideally, embrace that ministry that you have, but to do it with a new zeal and with a refreshed outlook on things, because it's easy for us to fall into patterns, habits, and so things are done sort of out of routine. This happens just in the life of the church in general.
Oh yeah.
Like, think about what our annual calendar looks like when we sit down and we review the calendar. When you guys have your utter insanity of a conspiracy theorist room, and you've got every month on a giant piece of paper that's taped up to the window that are covered now, and you put on your tinfoil hats and you draw get all the little red threads. Yeah, it's great. But how much of that stuff that we put on the calendar is the repeating stuff? Now, of necessity, there are some things that repeat.
Yes.
There are certain events that we must do.
Yeah.
Like this happens every year, and it's going to happen every year. Like we're going to celebrate Christmas. No matter what.
Sure?
It's a big thing. Holy Week, we're going to do it.
Yes.
We're going to have Holy Week because there's the liturgical things. There's the stuff that has to repeat. But it's also very easy at a parish to kind of fall into, well, at this time of year, we have this event, and we have this event no matter what, even if there's nobody coming to it anymore because it's no longer serving anybody's needs.
Right.
But because we've always had it, we have to keep having it.
Right.
And sometimes a little bit of recalibration can be really good for a parish to engage in and to say, maybe we don't need to do this anymore, or we should do it in a different way. It can be really helpful. But sometimes the only way for that to happen is if you have a chance to step away.
Yeah.
And with that opportunity to step away, to see things differently, even like going and visiting another parish can be really helpful because you see how something is done. Like Father John and I, anytime we travel together, we always try to go to Mass at least once at a parish incognito. We say Mass together every day.
Yeah.
Right. That's always a big thing for us. But we also try to like sneak in the back and sit in lay clothes and watch Mass happen.
Yeah.
And be there. We pray too while Mass is happening.
Yeah.
Please don't get me wrong.
You're not just there judging.
No. And honestly, thank God, we have always been really fortunate. Anytime we've traveled someplace and stopped in for Mass, that the masses that we have chosen are in good parishes.
Oh, that's good.
The one that we did go to where we got a little judgmental was the Gloria, was the My Little Pony Mass. Glory to God in the highest. Yeah. So I leaned over while they were singing the Glory to God, and I started singing the My Little Pony theme in his ear, just like, and he's like, I hate you. I'm going to punch you. I hate you. I hate you for doing that to me.
That's like high school Sam right there.
Yeah, exactly. Because now I'm just teasing him, and like, it's supposed to be respectful. It's supposed to be Mass, and I'm making fun of him. And then that particular, God bless him, this particular priest at this place was not especially erudite or coherent in his homily. He was just all over the place, and nothing made any sense. And we sat there thinking, did he prepare anything?
Yeah. This was a Sunday?
Yeah, this is a Sunday Mass. And we're like, it seemed like this guy had not prepared anything.
Yeah.
Like, this is rough.
Wow.
But in any case, we got to see the beauty there was not so much what the priest was doing or the music. The beauty was actually the community of people that was there. Because we got to Mass early and had to look around to find enough room in a pew that we could sit down.
Really?
There's so many people there, and they came early.
Wow.
And they were attentive. And then at the end of Mass, a lot of people stayed to make a Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Additionally, there were people handing out bulletins at the door as we left, thanking us for being there, volunteers from the parish and everything. And you really had a sense of this is a parish community that values their life together, but that also values the way that they celebrate the Mass and the fact that it's important to be there on time. It's important to pray together. It's important to make a Thanksgiving. So there's a deep reverence and love for the parish, even while it wasn't perfect.
That's beautiful.
It's good to realize that we can have deep love and reverence, and we can do certain things well, even if we don't do everything perfectly.
That's so true.
Like, full stop. Every parish is going to have some stuff that they don't do perfectly. Like, we don't do everything perfectly here.
No,
But
I'm kidding.
We're trying real hard. We're trying real hard.
Yeah, but that's something we have to let go of because I'll say this for sure. Well, it's funny what I realize is like my perfectionism clashes with my ADD, and so it just creates chaos. And it's like it has to be perfect, but then my ADD is like, yeah, but then like all these other 50 things. I'm like, yeah, great idea. Why don't we do that? No, can't do that unless we do this part perfectly. So, needless to say, I think one of the things that. I mean, it was so great having you back because you were like,
I thought you were going to say it's so great having you gone.
No. It was good because, so like, yes, I'm learning how to like put sabbatical moments like throughout my day.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Like, Lord, like, I'm just going to really be attentive here. But I will lose track of that. I'll say a little bit of that is the ADD. Like, it just kind of like, or I get excited about something. I can get impulsive. I have this idea. I'm going to jump right in. And it's then you kind of start doing so many things that it actually takes away from you actually being present to the very thing you're called to do. But ministry, all you're doing is preparing it for the next person. And it's such an interior disposition of the heart because it's like, am I the one who's called to save the parish, do these things. And that's something that I've always struggled with in ministry since I first started. Like, found my faith at 18, then was a student leader, led Bible studies, then a missionary, then a youth minister, director of evangelization. There's always been a degree and a sense of responsibility, right? But then over the years, it's more and more like the Lord offers moments of humility to recognize, really, Paula, I'm the missionary. This is my church. I'm taking care of it.
Yeah, right.
And so to what extent does the overwhelm of ministry have more to do with, like, in some sense, I'm kind of making this about myself, or I'm trying to feed a part of me that needs a validation or an affirmation.
Yeah, we start to think that we're indispensable
Yeah.
to the mission.
Right.
And we forget that the mission was there before us, and it's going to be there long after us.
Long after.
Yeah.
And so I'm just here for a particular moment, and all you do is just leave it ready for the next person whenever that time comes. But think of how much anxiety comes from when you're identifying so deeply with, like, the work that you're doing, which is good. But at the end of the day, the most important work is your life of holiness, is your actual identity as a son or as a daughter of God. And when we operate outside of that, because I feel like we're always in this tension, though. Like, the rest of our life is going to be this tension of, like, moving from, like, okay, I'm this, to, all right, I'm a daughter of God. Oh my gosh, Lord, thank you for reminding me again. Oh man, why do I always keep forgetting? I'm always going to keep forgetting, and he's always going to keep reminding.
Yeah.
And so like, he continues to do that. So he hasn't, like, abandoned me to, like, he's let me make my mistakes. And he's like, you'll come back and I'll, give you my grace again to be able to start again. But I just think about how much of my years I've spent in ministry, and how much anxiety came from a misplaced sense of responsibility. That it was, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. And maybe you're listening to this and you're not in ministry, but maybe it's like at home or at work. Like, we do it in different ways.
Yeah.
And not even living in a place where I'm surrendering to God, who's greater than me, God who actually is my place of respite, God
Right.
who actually is there to, like, redeem me and renew me. And I'm simply like a frog, just hopping from thing to thing until I have, like, I'm burnt out or I'm tired, and I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've had, like, oh, this is what it's all about.
Oh,
This is
that. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you have, this was a couple months ago. I remember just having this deep encounter in the chapel, and I was like, da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, thank you. And, like, my heart's on fire, because he's like, this is all I want to do is give you. I just want to give you my love.
Right.
But you keep running away in your heart.
To go and do the next thing.
To go and do the next thing.
To try to create something.
Yes.
But you haven't, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that moment where you're thinking, I either had a conversation with my close friend about this, or I listened to it on a podcast another time, and you're not sure which it was?
Yeah.
Like, both of those things are blending in. So here's the thing that's blending for me. I don't know if this was something that I heard on a podcast, or if this was a conversation that I had with a friend. But it had to do with something about how priests take vacation, and that very often priests are not taking the vacation that they should take, because they feel like they can't get away from their parish. That if they did have to go away and something happened, there'd be nobody to take care of the people at their parish, and other than in those places that are very, very rural, and you might be the only priest for 100 miles or more. Generally, we're not in that kind of a situation, right? But there's this tendency to think, no, I've got to stick around. But there's also, like, a generation or 2 generations, let's say, before me in the priesthood, maybe even 3 generations ahead. There was this attitude that the badge of honor was never taking a day off. The badge of honor was how many hours you worked. But if you look, that's also a very similar characteristic in the corporate world. There was a whole generation that learned that the more hours you put in the office, the better you are as an employee,
Yes.
as a worker, whatever your job is, as an executive or something like that. Well, priests were susceptible to that as well.
Yeah.
And they fell into the idea that the more hours we put in, the better off we are. But they, as a result, sometimes forgot that there's a deeper reason to vacation than just, I want to relax, I want to kick back. There's a deeper reason than, I would like to sit around and not work. That's a beautiful reason to go on vacation. Don't get me wrong, right? But the deeper reason for that vacation, for time away from the office, for time away from your job, is so that your brain can reset.
Yeah.
So that emotionally you can get to a different place, so that mentally you just have that opportunity to not be constantly on. And then maybe you notice some things that you haven't noticed before. And with that distance, you're able to think a little bit more coherently about what you need to do next.
Right.
So you come back to the office, you come back to the job, you come back to whatever the task is, just with a different energy.
Yeah.
It's the same reason, like if a kid is getting really stressed out about their homework, mom and dad say, go outside for a little while. They don't tell them you don't have to do your homework. It's just go outside for a little bit, take a break, and then come back.
Yeah.
And when you take a break, you come back with a different mentality. But we've started to view taking breaks with like the same negativity of going to the DMV. And why doesn't the DMV work? Well, everybody's on break.
Well, yes, actually, because the moment you probably invite somebody to do something like that, it's like, no, but I just get so anxious if I'm not doing anything.
Right.
Because then the ruminations just like pop up and then you're overwhelmed with all these things. But it's like, it just goes to show how much.
So this is what happened. I came back.
Yeah.
And the day I came back, I unpacked everything, and I went just to see what's here, what needs to be done. Let me just know what I have to deal with tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I did that. And then I had about an hour of anxiety after I did that, because not because of what was coming,
Yeah.
but because I had done the tasks that I had set myself to do.
Yeah.
Unpack and look at the calendar and make sure that everything is kind of where it needs to be for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It took me about an hour to do both of those things, to unpack and to look and see what I needed to be prepared for the next day. And then I had nothing to do. And that was by design. I didn't want to come back and feel like I had to be at the desk answering the phone and doing all this crazy stuff. I wanted to be able to come back and step in gently.
Yeah.
And instead, I came back, I did all the things that I had planned, and then I was surprised because I had this feeling of like, well, okay, now that I'm back, I should really be useful. I should really try and do something. There was nothing to do.
There was nothing for you to do.
There was nothing for me to do. I didn't need to do anything. But what was I thinking? Well, I should probably try to get something done. I should probably like sit down and write something or do this. I was like, no.
Yeah.
And for like an hour, I was just kind of pacing around like, what should I be doing? And then I was like, maybe sit down and read. There's nothing to do. Relax.
Yeah.
And it was like reminding myself that was okay. And that actually it made me better the following day when staff was here and it was time to get the office going again and it was time for me to step in and do different things. It made me better. So all of that is to say, like, that time gives you the reset, allows you to see things differently, and allows you to actually be more efficient. You're able to perform better. You're able to take on the busyness
Yeah.
and be better about the busyness
Yeah.
than you ever were before. And it's not busyness as a badge of honor.
No.
It's not busyness as a complaint of like, I just don't have enough time. It's just, this is what needs to get done.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever felt more efficient. But at the end of the day, I also don't really care about that. If that makes any kind of sense at all.
Oh, it totally makes sense. It's like the story by Mother Teresa, or like they tell of Mother Teresa. The sisters are like, oh, Mother, we have so many things we need to do, and we should probably really skip our holy hour. She's like, nah, doing 2 of them.
Yeah, now you have to do 2. Exactly.
And then they got everything done, but it just, gosh.
Yeah.
It's being able to, like, in a sense, like, remind yourself, but also you have to build the habit of it. Because
exactly,
it's not just on sheer willpower that you're going to make this decision. Part of it is, I asked this to somebody the other day. They were really struggling with their anxiety, and the ability for that person to be able to check in with themselves and just ask the question, well, what is this anxiety telling me about myself? What am I believing? about myself in this moment.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and their response was very like, well, if I don't get this done, I'm not good. I'm not worthy. Like, I need to get this task. And so then thoughts of self-deprecation show up afterwards. And you have to call out the lie. That's actually really not true. But if we're not rooted in our identity in the Lord, this makes it a lot harder.
Yeah. And also, if we're not able to articulate, this is the thing that I'm actually worrying about.
Yeah.
Because we get caught in okay, I'm worrying about, I should be productive. But why am I worrying about that? Because somewhere deeper down is the sense that if I don't do something productive, I'm not a good priest. I'm not taking care of people. It means I don't care. It means I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Now, none of those things are true.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's often the root of it. So it's being able to articulate why, not just like, so exactly like you asked, what is your anxiety telling you about yourself?
Yeah. And say it out loud.
Yeah.
So.
And that changes things really. All right, real quick, because we've only got a few minutes left.
Oh, already. Okay.
Tell me, what else did you do while I was gone?
Oof. Well, I guess this is more of a personal thing, but yeah, why not? I don't mind sharing my business anyways.
Wait, how personal?
That's true. That's a good point. No, I think people can relate to this.
Okay.
You know, difficulties in family.
Yeah.
And what was really beautiful was God taking a relationship and an experience and healing me enough to be able to change the way that I relate to this family member. So, I mean, I'll be personal about it. It just was really beautiful to see my dad after almost 2 years and taking that time to examine our relationship, recognize he too is very broken and very hurt. And in line with like the conversation about like mindfulness and all of these things, he was recovering from spinal surgery, and it was interesting to be around him and not have certain things within me be so triggered as much, because God had done so much outside of that now I was coming in with like, Lord, like now I understand more what your love is like, especially in the midst of deep brokenness and in places of deep hurt, or where there once was a lot of pain. And some of it is there, so like you're honest about the pain, but then you have to be able to be willing to sit with it and give it the space that it needs. But then it just, what was amazing was able to look at my dad with more love than I've ever been possible of having towards him, despite he has struggled with like alcoholism and like, you know, really violent temper and all these different things. But here I was able to see a man that God loved. And what was interesting is I learned a lot about my self-reliance this summer. The man got spinal surgery. He's walking around barbecuing. He's still like trying to do things himself because he's just like that. And so he starts making this comment. He's like, "Oh, I'm just going to do it myself. It's no big deal." And so Tony looks at him, sees me, and I'm like, and he looks at me and smiles, and he nods his head. He goes, "Oh." And I looked at him and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
no freaking way."
Yeah.
So like,
It's genetic.
it's genetic. But not just that, but then, you know, I learn about my grandmother a little bit more. Lost her husband when my dad is the youngest of 5. He was 2 when his father was shot and killed in Colombia. She was left alone to raise 5 children with, however, she was rough. Like, she was not like, could have been nicer, but there was some things that just kind of continued. So it was like this self kind of reliance, like, was what made them what they had to do in order to survive.
Right.
And so it was just like such a moment for me to recognize. Over a lot of the summer has been a lot of like me thinking about my own temptation to self-reliance isn't just a spiritual thing. It's also genetic, but it's familial.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's generational.
It's generational.
Not genetic,
Oh,
but
sorry.
generational.
That's what I
maybe.
meant to
It's
say.
like, no, that's the better way to say it. Like,
Yeah, it's generational.
look, I think there are some things that are like.
It's definitely not genetic. It's
No,
not like in my DNA.
I told you what Mother Natalia said about my distant cousin who she knew who was a priest who passed away a couple years ago. Mother Natalia said he was sometimes grumpy on the outside, but he was really a very like soft and tender man and very kind. But sometimes his demeanor could be like gruff and grumpy, and I'm like, so you're telling me it's genetic in the Kachuba family that this is just how we are? Like,
yes, because you've said this.
Yeah. Like gruff and grumpy on the outside, but like we're big softies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
So I think generational,
yeah.
maybe a little bit genetic.
Listen.
But then you realize that there's certain learned things that you got. But how beautiful that you were able to sit with your dad.
Yeah.
And see that.
Yeah.
But also just to see him after a few years.
And to see him, yeah.
But I think part of the reason that you're able to have that perspective is the healing that you've experienced on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
So that going back into that relationship, you're not carrying the same kind of burdens that
no,
you would have been
you're
carrying
not like
before.
you're not feeling all of these things. But yeah, I'd say that was like the big thing of the summer was how am I focusing on myself to be a better self?
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. And like trimming off what I'm not responsible for this. I don't have to worry about that. It's okay to take a step back and like focus on those things that actually like, well, my vocation is to love, as Saint Therese puts it, and to be joyful.
So you're a little early. Therese is in a few days, but we're not quite there yet.
No, I know. October is coming up. All the hottest saints are like out and about. So
all the hottest saints.
I know it's kind of weird to say that. I'm sorry. Listen, October, they like pack a punch. Like, why did they choose that month?
I find, I don't know. I look through the liturgical year, and with the exception of the Lenten season, when you typically aren't celebrating quite as many saints, it's just a hit parade of wonderful saints all the time.
It is.
You know, it's great.
It is.
It's great. But, well, I'm glad that we get back into doing this because this is always fun. It's always a good time.
Yeah, you pulled me out of retirement. I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the new studio. It's pretty sweet. And
it's going to look cool. Are you going to put more books up there too?
Yeah, I've got some. I do have more books.
But it wouldn't be necessary, so it's fine.
Yeah, maybe down here there's a little empty space that we could fill in with something there, I suppose.
That's true.
But
a bigger bobblehead. One of Father Brendan.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? All right, well, Paula, this is Roar Like the Lamb again.
Again, we're back. We're better than ever.
Let's just say we're back.
We're back.
Yeah.